largest man in the Bible, Goliath, how terrifying he was, and how he was ultimately defeated by David. Goliath. The giant who fell in the grand narrative of the Bible, few characters are as physically intimidating and symbolically rich as Goliath, the Philistine champion of Gath. Known widely as the largest man in the Bible, Goliath's very presence sent waves of fear through the hearts of Israel's bravest warriors. His size, strength, and confidence in battle made him seem invincible, an unstoppable force standing in defiance of God's people. Yet in a twist that would echo through the ages, this seemingly unconquerable giant was brought low by the most unlikely of challengers. A young shepherd boy armed with nothing but a sling, 5 smooth stones, and unwavering faith. The colossal champion. Goliath's height is one of the most debated aspects of his story, but whether you take the traditional Hebrew measurement of 6 cubits and a span, roughly 9 feet 9 inches, or the slightly shorter reading of 4 cubits and a span, about 6 feet 9 inches, there is no doubt that he was an imposing figure, especially in the ancient world. He was described in 1 Samuel 17 as a champion, meaning he wasn't just a tall man, he was a trained warrior, experienced in battle, and skilled in the art of intimidation. Goliath's armor alone tells us how formidable he was. He wore a coat of mail that weighed 5,000 shekels of bronze, about 125 pounds, 56 kilograms. On his legs, he wore bronze greaves, and a massive bronze javelin was slung on his back. The shaft of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and its iron point weighed 600 shekels, or about 15 pounds, 6.8 kilograms. The description paints the picture of a human tank, someone built for battle and nearly impossible to defeat in close combat. The terror of Israel. Goliath's intimidation extended far beyond his physical appearance. For 40 days, morning and evening, he stood in the valley between the Philistine and Israelite camps and issued his challenge. Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. But if I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subjects and serve us. This wasn't just a call for battle, it was psychological warfare. The Israelites, including their king Saul, were dismayed and greatly afraid. And for good reason. Goliath wasn't merely large, he was confident, cocky, and cruel. He mocked the armies of Israel and by extension, mocked the God they served. In ancient warfare, this was more than a tactical threat. It was a theological one. In mocking Israel, Goliath was effectively mocking Yahweh, claiming the gods of the Philistines were stronger. Day after day, Goliath's booming voice echoed through the valley, and not a single man in Israel dared to answer the call. The fear he inspired was paralyzing. Goliath had turned a whole army of men into spectators, unable to act because of the dread that clung to their hearts. Enter the shepherd boy. David's arrival at the battlefield was not by design of war. He was the youngest son of Jesse, sent by his father to deliver food to his older brothers and bring back news of the battle. David was no soldier, he was a shepherd, yet his heart burned with passion for the God of Israel. And when he heard Goliath's insults, he was not afraid. He was offended. "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine," David asked, "that he should defy the armies of the living God?" Where the soldiers saw a giant too big to fight, David saw a man too arrogant to survive. He offered to face Goliath himself. His courage was met with skepticism, especially from Saul, who said, "You are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth." But David had a secret weapon, not in his hand, but in his heart. He had experience with danger, having fought off lions and bears to protect his sheep. More importantly, he had unwavering faith in God. "The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear," he said, "will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." A battle of contrasts. Goliath and David couldn't have been more different. Goliath stood tall in bronze armor, glistening in the sun, with a spear that could impale a man in one thrust. David stood in simple clothes, carrying a staff, a sling, and 5 stones from a stream. Goliath mocked him when he saw him. "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" He cursed David by his gods and promised to feed his flesh to the birds. But David's response was a declaration of divine power. You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's." With that, David ran toward Goliath, reached into his bag, took out a stone, and slung it with precision. The stone struck Goliath on the forehead, and the giant fell face down on the ground. David then ran forward, took Goliath's own sword, and used it to cut off his head, an act that sent the Philistines into a panicked retreat. The fall of the mighty Goliath's defeat was more than just a military victory. It was a theological statement. It showed that no matter how strong, tall, or intimidating an enemy may be, they are no match for the power of God. It was a lesson in humility, a testament to faith, and a reminder that God often chooses the unlikely to do the extraordinary.